Earthbound, to know it is to love it, and to play it is probably to shop a bunch. Each town has your standard assortment of shops, with a wide variety of items for sale, so what if we just didn't spend any money whatsoever? That's right, can you beat Earthbound without spending money? The answer right off the bat is no. That's a negatory. You cannot, no way, no how, complete Earthbound without spending money. Unless you are of the speedrunning persuasion. The short version is that the game is on one giant map. You just generally can't access the edges, unless you use some crazy speedrun strats. So with that, I think speedrunners don't need to spend money. But I'm no speedrunner. I'm barely a runner. So we're gonna just be spending as little money as possible. Our story starts much like it always does. Pokey knocks on our door, we get King, and we take our cracked bat. By the by, the cracked bat is going to be Nos's only weapon for much of the game, so get used to it. That or don't use it at all, 4 attack really isn't all that much in the grand scheme of things. It's up to you. After we save Pokey, the challenge begins in earnest. It's time for Onett. I've read it's supposed to be pronounced Onett, but I grew up with Onett. Onett was my childhood, so I'm calling it Onett. Deal with it. Anyway, after collecting our free ball cap, we begin the first of several grinds, taking on the sharks both for the experience and for the hamburgers. The Pogo Punks have a 25% chance to drop hamburgers. Once we're up to level 8 and our pants are just stuffed full of burg, we take on Frank himself, and, well, he's still a challenge. He shouldn't be, but he is. We should automatically dog walk him if we're at level 8, but oh well. I hope that won't portend anything. Anyway, after we disassemble his stupid robot, he swears off gang violence forever and decides to heal us when necessary, so we can proceed to Giant Step. And Giant Step is really easy. After I clap Titanic Hands, I grind up to level 12 to more easily have a reasonable dialogue with the local constabulary about the roadblocks. Now it's off to Tucson. When we enter Tucson, we hear tell of the little girl who's been kidnapped. Well, I've played this game a bunch, so I don't need to talk to people, but rest assured they are talking about it. Also in Tucson, our first unavoidable expenditure. That's right, Apple Kid will demand $200 from us. Do not pass go, do not go to jail. I've got this backwards. Anyway, he needs $200. He also needs some food, but you can give him a cold remedy, which I do, because I think it's funny. And yes, there is no way to progress unless we cough up the cash. Oh well, these things happen. Tucson's also kind of annoying because we don't have a free heal spot in town. Meaning if I get beat up too bad, I gotta trudge all the way back to go see Frank. All that aside, I head to the PRV, as the cool kids call it. I learn there's a pencil statue, and I go snag the pencil eraser. And if watching this video for some reason makes you want to tackle this challenge, and all you have is OG hardware, you're going to want to carve out some time for this next one. Because Happy Village does not have a free save point. All they have is a payphone. Your only options are to use save states or just to tackle it all in one go. In the interest of solidarity, despite the fact that I'm playing on a Switch 2, I tackled it in one go, because I'm a real one when I choose to be. So we grab the teddy bear, we knock out the PRV, we get the hard hat, making sure to save the Mr. Baseball cap, and we eventually land in Happy Village. I'd argue that Happy Happy Village is really where this run starts showing its true colors. I don't have Nos particularly underleveled, but he's still taking 4 hits to take these blueies down, and they're doing about 15 a pop to him. Normally that'd be 2 and 5 respectively. Thankfully, after a peaceful discussion with this gentleman about how much he's charging for his eggs, he agrees to give me as many as I want for free. Healing secured, I find Poora, grab the badge, and stuff my pants full of bananas. The eggs heal more, but they have the downside of turning into chickens. So bananas it is. Carpainter is normally the ultimate victory lap boss. So naturally, he gives me the toughest fight I've ever had from him. In most playthroughs, he just zaps me and dies by badge reflection, but here he seems to actually avoid that, and he's doing a scary 50 per hit. It's touch and go, but I am eventually able to knock him off when he knocks it off and actually starts hitting me with lightning. With him done, we go save Poora and head back to Tucson. Not before grabbing some life noodles first. Also, man, look at all those monsters. You'd think I was playing an illegal copy or something. I mean, I'm not, but it's just crazy. Earthbound, you're just so crazy sometimes. Now that we have a second party member, things are about to get several orders of magnitude more complicated. Earthbound is one of those JRPGs where you have to pay money to revive your characters. Without it, the only way to revive her is to trudge all the way back to Giant Step, which is just such a huge bummer. Spoiler alert, I'm gonna have to do that a couple times. All that aside, once I'm back in Tucson, my plan is to collect $10,000 and to see a show. Also, I should point out that once you get the money from Everdread, this unlocks not 1, but 2 free healing spots, right there in Poora's house. Right before we leave Tucson forever and have 0 reason to return. Thanks, Earthbound. Really appreciate the timing on this one. A+, buddy. The Runaway 5 rock our faces off, and then they drive our faces, and the rest of us, to Threed. We're cut off from free healing, and even worse, we're cut off from Giant Step. So we really need to tread lightly here. Damn it, Nos. You know better than to follow strange zombie hookers. Thankfully, Poora's calling Jeph to bail us out. And yes, I couldn't think of a better name pun for him. I don't know, just pretend he's too poor to afford the letter F. Jeph steals some cookies to do a thing that ends up not panning out. See, we're about to have to spend money again, the stately sum of $1. And while there is a way to skip out on it, that involves spending money, which is a no-go. I was hoping that if I blocked off the purchase in a different way, she'd just end up giving it to me. I guess the cookie doesn't crumble that way, though. My next ploy is to try and murk Jeph. See, if your party, which at this moment consists of just 1 person, is wiped, their cash on hand is cut in half. Several attempts later, I came to a distressing realization. If all you have left is $1, then you hold on to that thing with your just-ended life. I resignedly fork over $1, and I get my monkey. And if you think this is the craziest length I'm going to go to save money, you've got another thing coming. Jeph walks through Winters, and he saves us. Which means one thing, it's tint time, baby. Boogie Tint isn't really worth mentioning. What is worth mentioning is my next play. Once we set the zombie paper, we have to go to the hotel, which costs money. So yes, it's another mandatory expenditure. But with some clever play, that's a cost we can lower. The hotels in Earthbound have a generous ghosts sleep free policy. So once I get Poora and Jeph KO'd, Nos only has to spend a cool $60 to plunk down for the night. And he immediately revives Jeph with those life noodles as soon as he awakens. It just feels like some sort of fraud to me. Maybe it's ghost fraud. Ethereal fraud? Well, some type of fraud. Nos and Jeph head northward, battling like the absolute heroes we know they can be. The mini-barf next is absolutely a challenge, as he hits like an absolute friggin' truck and he can make your entire party cry. Thankfully, I've got a secret weapon, the big bottle rocket. This knocks off about 75% of his health in one go, and all it takes is 3 rounds of Ness's PSI and he's done for. He also thankfully decides to waste the rest of his time just trying to get me to cry, a thing I'm already doing. Once he's a faint memory, our heroes head northward and they're welcomed into Saturn Valley. Saturn Valley is a godsend in this run. Both the hotel and the hospital are completely free of charge. Taking advantage of this, I can grind for days. Well, it's only a couple hours. I guess days is more metaphorical. But still, I do decide to grind, get my characters up to the levels they should have already been at by this point. Once I'm far better off, I go to the waterfall, sit there for 3 minutes, and tackle Belch, who is just easy as ever. Fly Honey remains undefeated, and as a thank you, we collect one of the best pieces of armor in this entire run, the Mr. Saturn coin. Hello there, plus 47 defense. You get your sweet ass on Paula. With Threed saved, our heroes head to the desert for, you guessed it, another grind sesh. I actually have to go back to Giant Step at one point to fix a case of paralysis, also a case of death, and I learned that Nos's mom won't let you rest there if he's knocked out. Guess it makes sense, she doesn't want strange kids in her room, but she's polite enough to be tactful about it. Anyway, our goal with all this grinding is to get Paula up to level 31, where she learns Freeze Gamma. She'll be using it very shortly. Oh yeah, we also give a miner a banana. If you'd like to know the exact reasoning, well, it'll be on screen right about now. Next up is Fourside, clearly based off of somewhere. I don't know, skyscrapers, clearly based off of the Apollo Theater. My guess is Gary, Indiana. Now that we're in the big city, the first thing we're gonna have to do is, of course, spend money. Gonna take in a show. The Runaway Five have been screwed again, so we have to go bail them out again, for some reason. I still have no earthly idea what the plot trigger is. So normally I check the hint man to make sure I did it correctly. Not an option here. Thankfully, it turns out I did it right. So it's time to enter hell. The mole mines are long. They're maze-like. It's full of monsters that require PP to heal off. And also, it requires multiple rests to complete, but after I knock off the third strongest mole, the third strongest mole, the third strongest mole, the third strongest mole, and the third strongest mole, our efforts were rewarded with a diamond, and our prize is to go spend money again to see the band off. Godspeed, boys. The band's freedom earned. The department store is now open for one reason or another. I don't really know why. What I do know is that there really isn't much we can do in the mall other than just take an escalator, turn back around, and oh no, Poora just got kidnapped. Yeah, it's gonna be not solo, it's gonna be duo Nos and Jeph for a while. Good thing I had the foresight to redistribute my equipment. Our two boys heroically battled through the mall, encountering records and guitars, before they mostly paced an alien with a big bottle rocket. It takes a little longer, but the big bottle rocket again does most of the work. And you absolutely don't want to leave this guy alive. He can absolutely wreck your day. The alien clues us in that Monotoli might have something to do with our lady friend's disappearance. So naturally we head to a dive bar. Gotta go drink our sorrows after all. We arrive to learn that Everdread has been lightly killed, but we need to talk to him. And we need to give anything we can sell to this random dude. So I give him Jeff's old stun gun. But he's not using the thing. There you go, buddy. Use it responsibly, or tell the cops that someone else gave you a stun gun. Don't tie this to me. Everdread confirms that we need to check behind the counter. And we do, which sends us on the worst drug trip of our lives. See, this is why 13-year-olds shouldn't be drinking. Moonside is as bizarre as ever, and the challenge doesn't really add that much to it, so I'm just gonna gloss over it. We take down Mani Mani pretty easily, and we're free from the nightmare. Except now we have a different nightmare. The Monkey Caves. That said, Devin Morgan has a ridiculously good map on GameFAQs. Good on ya, Devin. This part is tedious, but it's also not that difficult. And thankfully, we can find the only two items that aren't already located in the cave. There's a picnic lunch in the mole mines. And you can find a skip sandwich in a nearby trash can in Threed. Trash can sandwich. Good. We get our yogurt dispenser, so we get entry to the big cheese himself, Monotoli. And that means it's time for robots, baby. The sentry robots are moderately threatening, but nothing we can't handle. The big threat is Clumsy Robot. Yeah, it turns out he's 50% susceptible to paralysis. I don't know if his only damaging attack is physical or not, but all the same, he's content to sit there just numb and useless. And the Runaway 5, well, in this case, they don't really save us. We already saved ourselves with paralysis. Runaway 5's role in this could charitably just be called hanging out. We rescue Poora, and we get our next order of business. It's vacation time, baby. The Runaway 5 give us a ride to Threed. They're so insistent that they refuse to allow us to teleport, as a matter of fact. One fixed Skyrunner later, we're back in Winters, because you gotta have winter break before you get let go for the summer. Anyway, Shroom represents our biggest challenge thus far, as he can mushroomize us. Mushroomization is effectively confusion, but it's an insidious take on that status where I can input my own commands. I just might accidentally target someone else. Given the fiendish fungi is toting 1700 HP, we don't want to let him live for too long, So my strategy is basically to deal as much damage as I can in the first round, and take stock after that. We clock about 1,000 in the first round from the Bag of Dragonite, Big Bottle Rocket, and Freeze Gamma. And from there it's easy peasy. And yes, I know I skipped the second and third sanctuaries. I'll get to them, honest. With our winter break over, it's time for summers, and our first order of business is to solve this guy's marital problems, so we can solve our maritime problems. We visit the Stoic Club, barely give this woman a pep talk, and as a thank you, she slips Nos some drugs. I mean, dude trips so hard he's imagining a fourth party member. Prince Poora is our final member, but he's fallen on such hard times that he has no choice but to loot his townfolk's belongings. After this, he imagines his arms and legs getting ripped off. But he ultimately decides he's just fine, so he's gonna join us. 4 members! With Prince Poora in tow, we're gonna absolutely need to spend money again. I tried to get in the museum for free, and this absolute tease gets my hopes up. But it's not meant to be. Since only living party members get charged to enter the museum, well, that's an easy fix. It's time for another glorious round of having all but one party member KO'd, and this tough guy is willing to oblige. Poora is really our only choice here because he's the only one who can read the hieroglyphs. Everyone gets clapped, and he goes in and bribes the guard. There are 2 shattered men, and while they're admittedly difficult, he is able to pull it off, and he gains just a ton of levels. It's honestly not a bad idea to do this if you're playing vanilla either. Gets Pooh much more consistent with your other party members. We now arrive at a critical juncture. The game nominally wants us to return to Fourside and handle Sanctuaries 5 and 6, but there's nothing stopping us from just going ahead and going to Scaraba, so that's what I ultimately decide to do. We go back to the beach to ensure Nos is the only living party member, because ghosts ride free. I then go grab a magic truffle from Tucson, hoping that I won't need it, but prepared just in case I do. With all that done, we need to talk preparation. Nos is going to have to tackle the Kraken solo with suboptimal equipment. First off, I can't protect against everything he throws at me. He's got fire, flash, and thunder, and while the Franklin badge can fix thunder, I've got to choose between the former 2, and I'm gonna have to tank one of them. I ultimately decide that Nos has the HP necessary to tank a fire attack, so it's flash protection all the way, and we've just gotta hope he doesn't just string a bunch of fire and tornado attacks together. Anyway, we drop our $20 to board the ship, and it's Kraken time. Now normally I've never found him all that threatening. He's got about half the HP of what is nominally the preceding boss, and he's not all that hard to run down. Honestly, a good round of attacking can finish him off. Mano a mano though, I'm sweating. The battle is somewhat difficult. He breathes fire a lot more than I'd like, and Nos's attack is only dealing 1 damage unless he smashes. But he's eventually able to pull out a victory, and yes, he does use the magic truffle. I sure am glad I prepared. Arriving in Scaraba, we immediately warp to Saturn Valley for a free heal, then immediately return. And Scaraba's another one of those situations where OG hardware players will have to go a while without saving. The only phones after the pyramid are that of the money cost variety, though at some point you obviously will be able to get a free phone. I don't have a lot to say about the pyramid. There's a diamond band in there, and it's a slog like usual, but we come out on the other end just fine. Poora is tragically whisked away, and even more tragically, I can't buy any multi-bottle rockets from the nearby vendor. That said, we gain entry to Dungeon Man, rest on the benches, and repair a submarine, and it's on to Deep Darkness. Now that we've arrived in the swamp, Poora and Jeph need to die. See, since I'm going to knock out the 5th sanctuary, I'm going to commit some more ghost fraud at the Fourside Museum. And after several emails to MIT, I have conclusively confirmed that 2 is a smaller number than 3. So I'm going to take advantage of Poora's hiatus to claim that sanctuary. Mr. Spoon asks us to help him stalk Venus, which we gladly do. We take in one final show at the theater, Nos gets a signature on a banana, and he schleps the seed bearer to Spoon for... I don't even want to know what this guy is going to do with that banana. Don't want to know at all. Speaking of gross, Nos revives his running buddies just in time for them to trudge through a sewer. And honestly, just stepping back and taking this part of the game out of context, it's really gross. We're helping a man get a signature from a singer whose boundaries he's violated repeatedly, so we can drop into a sewer to fight a giant rat. It's disgusting. Anyway, said rat is fine. He's easy enough to take down. I don't have a lot to say about him. Nos crawled through a river of shit and came out clean on the other side. Then he immediately went back into the river to return to his journey. And he also got a bazooka for later. Come on, don't tell me that wouldn't have made the Shawshank Redemption like 10 times cooler. Now I feel the need to point out that with that final museum entry, we've spent up all the cash money we need to spend. I could call it here and point out the final total, but no, let's go all the way to defeating Gigas. Anyway, with the ROUS brought down to size, our heroes traverse the deep darkness, grabbing every magic truffle along the way, thank you Starman.net, only to run into the big budget sequel to Master Belch, Master Barf. Now my traditional strategy for this guy is very multi-bottle rocket shaped, but that's not an option here. And he can actually be fairly challenging. But a really good way to get around that challenge, take advantage of his flash susceptibility. That's right, we one-shot the old jerk, and Poor comes in and rescues us, even though that was completely unnecessary. Just as unnecessary as when I murk him with a bottle rocket. Anyway, he drops the KC badge, so that means one thing. It's time to recite the poem. Except I don't want to take a bunch of time, so it's going to be super fast. Upon entering Tinda Village, we learn 2 things. Well, I guess upon entering Tinda Village and immediately exiting, we learn 2 things, but oh well. Apple Kid has been kidnapped, and Orange Kid is working on some useful in real life, but useless sounding in the game science. Unfortunately, Apple Kid will have to wait. It's sanctuary time. We're going to tackle our missing sanctuaries. Mondo Mole is a nothing boss at this point, though it does allow me to look at one of my favorite pieces of dialogue. By the by, cows really do love carrots. Trillion Age Sprout is slightly more difficult, but only slightly. He still goes down pretty damn fast. Pink Cloud, though, might prove a bit of a challenge. Except it doesn't. See, Thunder and Storm have full paralysis immunity, but a weakness to Flash. Apparently, PSI Flash laughs at your pathetic paralysis resistance and bypasses it to numb the brothers. Maybe they're one guy? Who knows? You know, I always thought one of these guys looked like Jack Nicholson, but that's just me. With our Sanctuary count brought current, it's time to save Apple Kid. Not because he's been super helpful throughout this whole journey. Not because he's our friend. No, he knows where a book we want is located. Or maybe he has said book. Either or. That's why we want to save him. Anyway, the Stonehenge base is infamous for being the home of the Starman Super, who famously drops the Sword of Kings at a 1 in 128 rate. Now, I've played Earthbound a bunch, and never once have I obtained this weapon, and I expect this run to be no Is that the Sword of Kings? Is that the Sword of Kings? Okay, I think I've just used up a lifetime's worth of luck, everybody. Okay, all celebration aside, the Sword of Kings as a weapon is fine. It's mainly noteworthy because it's the only weapon that actually increases Poo's attack. It's only plus 30, and he gets really solid attack growth anyway, so it's definitely not the end-all be-all. It's not a mandatory thing by any means. That said, it still feels good to get it. It's an achievement to get it at all, and sometimes isn't that enough? I'll tell you who isn't enough. That's Starman Deluxe. He goes down pretty easy. Now, he does have some powerful attacks, chief among them Starstorm Alpha, but he doesn't really seem very interested in using them. He instead opts for the single targeting beam attacks. Okay then. We rescue our friends and some random farmers, and we grab the book, and I also decide to give the player their ultimate name, Little Money. Come on, you know the meme. I was originally going to name the player after JRPG LP legend H.C. Bailey, but Little Money worked so much better. Shout out to Merton for coming up with that one. Anyway, now that they're no longer shy, the Tinda will help us head to Lumine Hall. It's not Lumine Hole, it's Hall. I don't have a great deal to say about Lumine Hall, other than the fact that the Fobbies probably shouldn't be dealing this much damage to me. That said, the monsters here are mostly a major step up from everything before them, particularly the Conducting Spirit. He can deal a lot of damage to you and he can one-shot you, so watch out for those guys. You'd think the boss of the dungeon would be difficult too, but he's probably the easiest in the game. Outside of the fact that he has 3000 HP, Electrospectre is just a cakewalk. His only one attack is lightning, and that's not very damaging. We get the Sanctuary, and Nos has his thoughts stream up on the wall. Thankfully, nothing embarrassing. Later, he learns he's the Chosen One, and we head to Fire Spring, where all of the monsters, get this, are related to fire. Not much to say about them, but the boss is really something. The first half of the boss, Carbon Dog, he goes down quick. He is super weak to Flash. But he gives way to the absolute highest HP enemy in the game. Young girl, they call him the Diamond Dog. In addition to packing over 3300 HP, old DD, as I'd imagine he likes to be called, has some nasty attacks. He can diamondize us, which is effectively petrification. He can cast Flash Omega, which has a 3 in 8 chance of one-shotting anyone who isn't immune to it, and he generally just hits like a truck. Knowing what a threat he is, I was kind of dreading going into this, given my subpar equipment draw. So naturally, he just decides to howl every turn. As you do. This ain't rock and roll, this is... never mind. After defeating Diamond Dog, Nos gets in his own head a bit, where he remembers a snowman from his youth. Also, Master Belch and some other people, but mostly the snowman. He eventually faces down his worst nightmare, Nos's nightmare. Ol' In, as I'd imagine he likes to be called, is also pretty damn powerful, but thanks to our C pendant, his one-shot capabilities aren't anything to worry about. He still comes closer to defeating me than he ever has in any playthrough before, but the time-honored strategy of waiting him to run down his psychic points remains undefeated. Nos awakens his Bonkai or whatever the hell, and the group heads to Onett. Yes, the monsters are tough, but I'm tougher, and we eventually get the meteorite piece. And now we enter Endgame. The Cave of the Past can be extraordinarily difficult, but I've got a secret strategy. I call it playing like a coward. That's right, I'm gonna flee from pretty much everything. I will knock out the occasional baddie, especially if it's an easy formation, but for the most part, I'm gonna run, so I won't be well done. At the end of the cave, we meet the man himself, Gigas, and he's gonna give us the fight of our lives in 3 phases. Phase 1 is easy enough to handle. Pokey's got a 50% susceptibility to paralysis, and his attacks are all physical, so once I land it, he's been neutered. Gigas is locked into using Nos's alpha and beta level special power, in this version PSI money, so a PSI shield will completely fix his wagon. With our enemies neutered, it's on to phase 2. That was quick. Okay then. Now we're on to phase 3. Gigas is now immortal and we just need to pray 9 times. Paula has the C pendant and the Franklin badge, so she's functionally immune to everything he can throw at her. And everything he can throw at her comprises of 3 abilities: Flash Omega, an all-party Freeze Beta, and Thunder Beta. And yes, that's all the embodiment of evil is kicking around. Praying 9 times is super easy, barely an inconvenience. Our man, Little Money, comes through to save the day. We've done it! We've beaten Earthbound by spending only the bare minimum. Oh yeah! So is this a fun way to play Earthbound? I guess kind of. It definitely makes things more interesting early on, but by endgame you're pretty much getting everything you need by way of drops or chests. It's definitely an interesting challenge and it requires you to be very knowledgeable about the items the game hands you, and it does force you to look for alternative methods to revive your party members. But at the end of the day, the final battle isn't made that much more difficult. Not that the final battle of this game was ever super difficult, assuming you knew what you were doing. I'd say give this a try if you want to. Maybe limit yourself to food items only. Who knows? There's lots of interesting untapped challenges. And oh yeah, just a side note, inasmuch as this game has a 100% completion, you can't 100% complete this game cashless. The 100% speed run requires you to get all Photo Man appearances. And one of them does require you to spend money. You have to buy that house in Onett for him to appear. If you want to 100% the game, just add 7,500 to whatever total is on screen right now. Anyway, thanks again for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful day. And remember, if you're ever feeling alone, unloved, unwanted, well, just send me a few dollars and see if that feeling doesn't go away.